All right, let's just dive right in. But first, we've got to address the absolute elephant in the room. If you are anywhere near social media right after the 2026 World Cup Final, you definitely saw it. That massive viral internet conspiracy claiming the whole match was totally rigged. So before we even touch on the tactical masterclass of how Spain actually dismantled Argentina, we really need to clear the air on what went down. I mean, right after the final whistle, the internet just exploded. The main rumor spreading like wildfire was that FIFA had pre-rigged MetLife Stadium with blue fireworks, totally banking on a Lionel Messi victory. There were all these videos flying around showing blue explosions lighting up the sky, which led a ton of people to honestly believe that Spain winning had somehow ruined this predetermined, rigged script. Well, reality check. Thanks to community notes on X and a flood of unedited raw footage from the stands, it became super obvious really quickly that the fireworks launched at the end of the match were actually just white. The whole rumor was literally built on fake, color-edited videos just meant to stir up drama. Now, we're not here to take sides on internet beef, but looking at the objective facts, there is absolutely zero evidence of any rigging. So with that whole online circus out of the way, how did Spain actually pull it off and dethrone the defending champs? Here is the completely fact-based tactical breakdown of exactly how Spain got it done. 1. A costly red card. 2. Losing the midfield battle. 3. The Messi isolation. And 4. Spain's tactical masterclass. Section 1. A costly red card. 93. That's the minute it all went wrong. Right at the death of regular time, 3 minutes into stoppage time, Enzo Fernandez picks up this totally foolish second yellow card for a really clumsy tackle on Cubarsí, and you know what the crazy part is? His first yellow was just for dissent. Getting yourself sent off in a World Cup final completely shattered the game, forcing Argentina into this absolute nightmare scenario of trying to survive a grueling extra time down to just 10 men. You can really see the fallout in the post-match ratings. You've got Emiliano Martinez putting up an absolute masterclass, earning a 9 out of 10 for being flat-out heroic in goal. And right next to him, you have Enzo Fernandez stuck with a disastrous 3 out of 10. I mean, Martinez was literally throwing himself at everything to keep them alive, while Fernandez's total lack of discipline basically tanked their chances. But to be fair, if we look closer, the cracks were definitely showing way before he saw red. Which brings us to Section 2, losing the midfield battle. A huge part of this unraveling comes down to a massive tactical gamble by Argentina's manager, Lionel Scaloni. He makes this huge call to drop Leandro Paredes from the starting lineup, throwing Nico Gonzalez in there instead. And man, did that backfire. It basically left the entire midfield wide open, completely gifting Spanish maestros like Rodri and eventually Pedri total and utter control over the possession. Spain was just dictating the tempo exactly the way they wanted. And things just kept snowballing from there. First, they suffer this super unfortunate injury to Lisandro Martinez, which means Argentina instantly loses their best progressive passer out of the back. It totally wrecked their build-up play. Add to that the early forced substitution of Gonzalo Montiel at right back, and suddenly their tactical flexibility is just gone. So without the ability to pass their way out of trouble, what do? They resort to the dark arts. Just cynical, physical fouls that honestly ended up exhausting their own aging squad more than anything else. Section 3. The Messi isolation. 117. This number is wild. The 117th minute of the match was the exact moment Argentina finally managed to register their very first shot of the entire game. And honestly, it wasn't even a clean look. It was just this deflected, kind of hopeful, long-range effort from Messi. Up until that exact second, their expected goals, their XG, sat dead at 0. 0. It is just staggering how suffocated the Argentine attack was. Just think about this incredibly lopsided shot count. 20 for Spain, just 2 for Argentina. Because Spain squeezed the midfield so brilliantly, they completely severed the supply lines. Messi was left totally stranded on the sidelines. He hardly ever touched the ball, and the second he did, he was instantly swarmed by red shirts. Argentina's whole system is built from the ground up to maximize Messi's genius, and Spain basically just unplugged it. Naturally, the emotional toll was absolutely brutal. After the tournament, resting back home with his family in Rosario, Messi posted this really heartbreaking message online. He was fully acknowledging the bitter, painful end for a team that relied so heavily on his magic. It was a massive reality check for a squad so used to him pulling a storybook ending out of thin air. And finally, Section 4. Spain's tactical masterclass. The clash of styles here was literally night and day. Argentina's game plan was to drag the whole match right into the mud. They wanted chaos, they wanted a physical brawl full of fouls to chop up the rhythm. But Spain, they just did not take the bait. They stayed unbelievably composed and patient. They stuck to this beautifully coordinated, suffocating press that slowly, methodically drained the life out of Argentina's older legs, which became super obvious once we hit extra time. Now, look, we have to pause and give a massive shout out to Emi Martinez. Remember that 9 out of 10 rating? He put on an absolute clinic, making a superhuman 12 saves in this match. That is the most ever by a goalkeeper in a World Cup final. He was out there single-handedly keeping Argentina's hopes alive, just batting away wave after wave of Spanish attacks. But against a team playing this perfectly, while you're down a man, you just can't hold off the siege forever. All that Spanish patience finally struck gold in the 106th minute. Luis de la Fuente, the Spanish manager, nailed his substitutions, perfectly stretching the play, and it all led to this incredibly surgical three-step sequence. First, Pedro Porro whips in a deep cross. Then, Nico Williams is right there with a textbook knockdown header. And finally, Ferran Torres just smashes home the decisive finish. 3 subs combining directly to win the World Cup. It was clinical, and honestly, it felt inevitable. So that leaves us with this one lingering question. We just saw exactly what happens when a brilliant opponent entirely shuts down Argentina's plan A. As the rest of the footballing world studies this blueprint and adapts, what on earth does the future hold for an Argentine squad that seemingly has zero backup plan when Lionel Messi is neutralized? It's a huge puzzle, and they're definitely going to have to figure it out before the next major tournament rolls around.